Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. I thought today I would do a bit of a catch up about a whole lot of random things. I'll try to leave timestamps so you can skip ahead if you're not interested in a particular topic. First, my son Abe returned to college a few days ago. Instead of flying up to Boston, he rented a car and drove up just to avoid having to deal with airports and flights at this time when there are both germs and massive weather delays. It was wonderful to have him home for a few weeks. We played board games, drank Manhattans by the fire pit in our backyard, talked about books and plays, and then when the cold snap really started here last week, lit fires in the fireplace while we watched episodes of a very funny Shakespeare-oriented British comedy show, Upstart Crow. Each episode combines a story set during Shakespeare's time with a lot of very modern understandings and humor. It was just perfect for watching with our totally Shakespeare-obsessed son. Have any of you seen it? I assume the show is easily available in the UK. And here we watched it through BritBox, which has a free trial week. Abe headed back to work on his senior thesis a bit before classes officially start, and also to help out on a college opera production. While he's a musician, he is very much not an opera singer. His work will be all behind the scenes, where he may be doing some dramaturgical work, as well as some sound and possibly other stage work. Because of the COVID surge, it hasn't been entirely clear how the opera will be presented. One possibility is that there will be a single stage performance, possibly without an audience even, which gets filmed. I'm not sure what their current thoughts are right now or what they will wind up doing, but I found it really interesting to hear how schools were trying to make events like this possible while still maintaining as much safety as they can. I mentioned that my son was heading back partly to work on his senior thesis, the major paper that many students write during their final year. I finally finished the knitted shawl I have been knitting for him to wear when his room gets cold. The pattern is a free one from the online magazine Knitty, which I'll try to remember to link to in the show notes, and is called the Study Hall Shawl. After I finished the actual knitting, I sewed in the ends, wet it, and then stretched it out to block. Blocking improves the drapeability of knitted fabric and helps the color pattern or stitch pattern really start showing up. So here is the block shawl. And here is Abe modeling it moments before he headed out the door to spend the day driving north. I have a terrible tendency to knit projects and then stick them in bags without ever blocking them, unless they're intended as gifts. Clearly, I am a process knitter, not a person who knits objects because I want to wear them. But since the blocking mat and the stick pins were out, I managed to block a second shawl, a night shift shawl by Andrea Mowry. The pattern uses stripes made of two different colored yarns in a slip-stitched pattern, and is not terribly difficult, but lots of fun. Sadly, when I blocked it out, it is a rather strange shape, sort of an equilateral triangle, which I find difficult to wear. I think the problem is that I did the I-cord bind-off too tightly. Still, it works just fine for keeping me warm when I'm reading on the couch or filming a booktube video. And speaking of booktube, I've been speeding through videos a bit lately in an effort to catch up just a bit with all the videos I've missed on my vacation. Y'all are very much more productive than I have been. I've been especially intrigued to see all the thought-out reading plans so many of you are making for the year. As for me, in general, I'm not making reading resolutions at all. As I mentioned in a video not too long ago, I think I might be writing a book, and I'm going to spend most of my resolutions for that writing project instead. Right now, many of the books I'm reading are in support of that project. Perhaps next time I'll talk a little bit more about a few of them. But I do have one big reading plan for the year. As I've mentioned a few times before, I really want to read Tolstoy's War and Peace this year for the first time, and my spouse David has agreed to read it with me. An excellent turn of events is that a few other booktubers are interested in organizing this with me as a read-along where all are welcome. The folks over at Codex Cantina and Sandy at Ms. Reads Along are joining in. We'll be sharing more details on specific reading plans soon, but all of us will be starting in March, and while there will be options for other schedules, I'll be reading the novel over roughly 3 months. Again, more details coming soon. The other planned reading I'll be doing this year will be books I'm reading for written reviews. In general, I don't talk about these much here on BookTube since I'm usually reading them long before publication date. But I do want to mention a book that was published just this week, Kathryn Schulz's beautiful memoir, Lost and Found. Essentially, the book talks about how the author's grief over the death of her father combined with her developing feelings of love for a new romantic partner. My review will be published in a few weeks in the Los Angeles Review of Books, and when it comes out, I'll definitely post a link. But for now, I'll just give you my strong recommendation. Even if you aren't at all interested in either grief memoirs or love stories, this is a smart book about the complicated history and meaning of words. If you read it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. 2 more things about that book. First, I recently discovered that Schulz's partner is Casey Koepp, author of Furious Hours, Murder, Fraud, and the Last Trial of Harper Lee. I haven't read that book yet, but I was thinking I might like to sometime this summer. Both Schulz and Koepp write regularly for The New Yorker, and now that I think about it, I think I clipped an article by Koepp out, which I might discuss here sometime soon. Wonder where I put it. The other connection to Lost and Found is that a recent issue of the New York Times featured Schulz as the interviewee for the By the Books column. She gave a brilliant answer to the often asked question of who we would want to attend our literary dinner parties. I can't believe I had not thought of it earlier. She names a group of fantastic cookbook authors she wants to invite to a potluck, including my beloved Yotam Ottolenghi and Alice Waters, as well as Dan Barber. While I certainly would love to taste their food, I would actually most love to talk about their political thinking about food and its future. Then she names another wonderful set to provide some sparkling conversation: Mark Twain, Dorothy Parker, and Jane Austen. I'm not certain if I would just end the evening in a fabulous mood or if I would have choked from laughing. Well, since I've mentioned cookbooks, which I think I mentioned in my last video as well, I'll leave you with a photo of my latest baking: a half whole wheat loaf of sourdough bread. I got hooked in by sourdough a year and a half or so before the pandemic started. But somehow I stopped my pattern of going through the procedure of refreshing the starter and putting together the dough, doing the timed folds, shaping the dough, and starting the second fermentation. Nothing in this process is hard or even time-consuming in itself, but the number of steps which have to be timed apart is sometimes off-putting. But after tasting this delicious loaf, I think I may try to get back to my regular baking schedule, now that all of my clothing has dough splatters on my sleeves. It really should be no big deal. All right, that will do it for this video. Thanks for joining me today. See you soon here on Hannah's Books.